All right, so if you've clicked on this video, you're interested in seeing who has won the Lackey Grand Prix 16 tournament. And just before we get there, before we get ahead of ourselves, let us kind of see the context that got us here in the first place. So Lackey Grand Prix 16, it was a kind of new way to organize a tournament where we had two pods of different players. So there's 10 people in pod 1 and 12 people in pod 2. And so they got paired against each other for, I think it was 4 rounds. And then the top 2 people from each pod would go on to the top cut, and there's 4 people in the top cut. So Flooded Red, he got first place in the pod 1, and he got paired here. And I got second place in pod 1, so I got placed in here. And the Guardian, I think he got second or first, I don't remember exactly, but I got paired against him. And then IamBread is Jeremy Chambers. He got paired against Jay Chambers. So top cut, top 4. And if you saw my video last week, you got to see that I got to play the Guardian. I was running Nativity Herods, and he was on Gold Nativity with a GoldenEye defense. And I was able to get the match there. And then these guys, they have the same last name. Yes, they're brothers. And Jeremy was able to get the game against his brother Jay. And so now we're here. We're in the finals. Baboony Tim versus Jeremy Chambers. And this is the first time I've actually gotten to play against Jeremy before. And kind of going into this match, I was feeling a little like starstruck, or what's the word? Nervous, excited. Basically, whenever I thought of this match, like during the week, I would always get like this sense of a butterfly in the stomach. And I was just like, oh my gosh, because this is probably the biggest redemption game I've ever played so far. I've never made it to the finals of a Lackey Grand Prix. You know, I've never faced Jeremy, and he's at the top of the redemption power rankings right now. If you listen to Threshing for a podcast, they have the thing called the power rankings. And Jeremy's consistently at the top. And he's taking down like these big tournaments. And so I'm just kind of watching and kind of like trying to figure out, oh my gosh, like what's my game plan against Jeremy going to be? Based upon the type of decks I was seeing him play at these big tournaments and doing well, I kind of had a good guess for what type of deck he'd be playing, but I didn't know what kind of defense he was going to run. I didn't know if he was like trying to try anything new in the offense. So I knew he was going to play Disciples something that goes wide on the board. And I was just going to stick to my guns, run Nativity Herods. So let's go and take a look at the deck that I used in the final game here before we get into it here. So if you've been following my channel for any amount of time, you know this deck, you've seen this deck, but for those maybe just tuning in, or maybe those who want a little refresher, this is a Nativity style offense with a Herod defense. So let's talk about the offense first. It has built around this card called Star Bethlehem. Basically, the more Nativity cards you have in play when you play this, the more things you can do and the more powerful this card becomes. So the main thing that this card does for your deck is it gives it a lot of speed, because in the perfect scenario, you'll be having 6 Nativity heroes in play and then drawing 6 cards every time you play this card. And yes, you can play this card more than once, which I'll show you in a second. So a card that's kind of crucial for getting to a higher number of Nativity heroes is the Heavenly Host. This card is not going to be really doing much attacking, but he just sits in your territory, and each time you play a unique Nativity hero, you'll be able to create a Heavenly Host token. So I used to believe that this guy was not really crucial to the Nativity deck, because I'm like, oh, I'm never attacking with him. Like, what's the point? But the card that can just come down and generate you extra cards during the course of a game is really nice. And I believe you don't need to pair him up with a Chamber of Angels deck if you're in a dedicated Nativity shell. I'd rather be playing another Nativity hero at that point than Chamber. Anyways, I digress. So that's kind of like one strategy where you're trying to go big on the board with your Nativity stuff. And a good way to do that is with the card called the Resurrection. You can play a good Gospel Fortress and Empty Tomb hero from deck. So there's a couple Empty Tomb heroes. We got the Resurrection Revealer, John, Simon, Peter. And then the Fortress we can either grab as Stable or Herod's Temple, both of which are really good. And we'll be able to ban 3 New Testament heroes into battle. So if we ban Joseph into battle, he can take a good Nativity card from our deck. If we ban to Magi, he can also take a good Nativity card from our deck. If we ban to Zechariah, he can draw cards. If we ban to John, he can draw cards. So The idea is we want to get the resurrection and play it as fast as we can so we can band all our heroes and our heroes will get more cards. And you can kind of see how this deck can just take one card, like the resurrection, and turn it into a bunch of other cards. And then Star Bethlehem will keep it going. Not only does Star Bethlehem draw you cards, it can also make your attacks really good. So if you pair Star Bethlehem with Flight into Egypt, you can actually activate the star ability of Flight into Egypt multiple times. So if you're attacking with all these Nativity heroes and they're all banded to each other and they're all protected, it's going to leave your opponent with very few options for what they can do. And in the late game, we're going to be using our Storehouse or our Mary to actually go to our reserve and be grabbing the Coming Prince, which is a territory class card that can top deck a good star card. You can top deck dominance with this card. So Star Bethlehem is a star card. And so this can set us up for another big Star Bethlehem draw. So yeah, really insane stuff. That's a high level view about what this offense does. The defense, why did I choose to pair Nativity with Herods? You know, there's a lot of defenses out there, but why specifically Herods? Well, I believe the Herods have a lot going for them. I believe they have some of the strongest blocks in the game at the moment. They oftentimes put people in this situation where they either have to guess about, do I try and attack them with this huge banding chain, or do I try to attack with a hero with low initiative? Herods can really punish you for making the wrong choice there. So for example, if you're trying to attack with a large banding chain of heroes, well, I can block with a small evil character and play Nostra and top deck all your guys. Or if you're attacking with a small hero, I can just block with a big guy and activate Herod's Temple and start a toss battle with you. You know, so that's kind of like an interesting dynamic that Herods have. And also, Herods are really good about not letting your opponent play their good enhancements. There's a lot of good enhancements running around that say like interrupt the battle and ban to infinite number of heroes. And as you kind of saw with what I'm trying to do when I play a banding card, you know, I can get a bunch of value off of what one banding card. So people are playing enhancements that are kind of doing the same thing as this, but the Herods are good at just not letting opponents do that. So the first way you can prevent them from doing that is using Herod's Temple, blocking with a lone evil character and starting to toss stuff. So when you're pairing that with cards that are protected from your opponent, like Herod Agrippa, makes for a really strong block. The opponents are going to have at least 9 points of tossing power to take them down. And on the first couple turns of the game, and for some decks even much later into the game, it's really hard to get to that point. So that's the first tool, kind of tossing stuff down. Another tool is using Herod the Great to choose a hero that you know they can't play enhancements on. So my favorite thing to do is choose one of their territory class heroes that they have just for utility, like Eliezer against Honeypot, Akeem against Disciple decks, or Resurrection Revealer. Basically, you know they're not going to be able to play these big banding enhancements on them. So now that you have to fight a fair battle between the Herod and whoever is unlucky enough to face him. And I think the reason I believe Herods are probably the best defense out there is because of these blocks that Herod's Executioner can enable. And this was some technology that I've been trying to hope and sit on before nationals, but cat's out of the bag, I guess. The video's coming out. But the idea is if you have Herod Antipas in your territory and you have a Herod's Executioner or Deceiver in your hand, when they attack you, assuming they aren't negating your Herod's Executioner, you can block with Executioner, go to your reserve, and equip the foreign horses. Now, when you target with foreign horses, you don't have to equip the Executioner. You can target any valid evil character in play. So you can put the foreign horses onto Herod Antipas, and then Herod's Executioner will go ahead and block and then band. So Herod Antipas comes in, his ability will trigger. You can get an evil NT card from reserve. So you go to your reserve, you have access to abandonment or feudal inquisition. And then foreign horses comes in, interrupts the battle, draws 2 cards, and if opponent has played an evil, if opponent has used the draw or search ability this turn, you can play an evil enhancement. And so guess what? You can just use that enhancement you got with Herod Antipas to end the battle on the spot. So if you're against a banding offense, you can just play abandonment. If you're against anything else, Like Feudal Inquisition is really good. And the cool thing about these battle enders is that they don't put the opponent special initiative where they can use to interrupt the battle and ban all these heroes, you know? So that's like another big reason about why I love Herods. So not only can you do that sneaky play if you have a Herod Antipas out, you can also do that if you have like a Nostra or a Contagious Fear in your hand. You can just block with Executioner, put the horses on Executioner, interrupt the battle, draw 2 cards, and play your Contagious Fear, you know? So yeah, Herod's Executioner, very strong. There's no other evil character in the game that can really do this and be this scary. So you'll see I'm playing cards like Golgotha, which make the first skull icon cards cannot be prevented. I'm playing Humble. So because I'm wanting to really enable these really strong blocks. I want to make this guy not getting prevented in battle. I want to make this enhancement not being prevented in battle. I want to make my duplicity be able to get my abandonment. And so if people are trying to attack me with these large banding chains and they're trying to negate stuff, you know, I'll have outs to that. Okay, so if you've been also following along in this Nativity deck, I've been playing the same 7 dominance for forever. I was playing the Son of God, Second Coming, 3 Woes, Glory of the Lord, Resurrection, and I was playing Crowd's Choice. I was playing Crowd's Choice for a long time. So why switch it up now? When I was kind of playtesting against these different disciple decks, and when I was playing against different people online, and whenever I played disciples, I was just not able to get the blocks off that I wanted with this deck. Their disciples decks are so good at choosing the blocker, setting up different scenarios where basically they're either tossing your next enhancement or like not even letting you block at all. And so my Herod defense wasn't holding up to what I thought I needed. If I'm going second against a disciples deck and I'm not able to get a block off, I'm just going to lose the game. So doubt is an answer to the disciple decks that are running around. They're using lots of multicolor enhancements. They're really reliant on the heroes. And so I was just using doubt to try and get that extra block I needed to win the game. So doubt is really, really good in the meta right now. I was listening to the podcast by the Threshing Floor, and they were talking about how Jay Chambers stumbled onto this first. I played against him. I looked at his deck list. I'm like, oh, okay, that's pretty good. And at the same time I'm thinking about that, they're talking about that on the Threshing Floor. So I feel like people are coming to a head and realizing like how good Doubt is in blocking Disciples players. So that's why you see Doubt in there. So when I cut Crowd's Choice, I am losing some speed. I am losing some versatility, but it's not the speed that's I'm losing games to. It's because I can't block Disciples. So I'm okay with making my deck a little bit slower, a little bit less consistent. It means I get at least one good block off against Disciples. Okay, thanks for coming to my TED Talk about the deck. Let's take a look about what deck Bread is going to be using. So I don't know exactly what list he was using, but this is a variation of the deck that he ended up fighting me with. It's a disciple-based offense with a thief defense. And if I'm just thinking off the top of my head, I did see a possessing spirit in there. So probably like this deck with a couple tweaks, maybe like Good Seed to the reserve or something. But the idea is he has a super powered, supercharged disciple offense, you know, of course, built around Matthew. And he also has a sub theme of getting meek tokens into play. So number one, that he's doing that with Heavenly Host. It's a good way to get a bunch of unique tokens. And he's playing Church of Christ, which can get meek clay tokens. So the reason he's doing that is there's a card called Impartial Judgment that basically says X is the number of your meek heroes. And if you're able to play this in battle on one of your characters, you can make other players discard X evil cards from hand or battle. So if you have like 20 meek tokens out, you're able to play this. An opponent has to discard all their evil cards from their hand. And so that's really cool, especially because you can use your card called Right On, which the bottom half says play enhancement on your meek hero. So if you attack with a meek hero, you play the Partial Judgment. You can make your opponent discard all the evil cards that they're going to use to block right before. And usually that's pretty devastating for the opponent. All right, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert about his deck and kind of try to explain exactly why each card is here. But needless to say, this is a very fearsome deck to play against. This deck can draw a bunch of cards out of nowhere Speed is really something he's focused on. His attacks are especially scary because he's pairing Simon the Zealous with these orange place cards. He's going to be trying to place orange cards in my territory and then choose them to block with Simon. And, what are you going to do against that? All right, so that's the matchup. And I don't want to spoil the game. I don't want to tell you who won. But I do want to say it was about as close as you can get. Somebody won 5-4. That's the final score. But that's all I'm going to say. So get to your popcorn. Let's take a look at this game that was really well played by both players and really came down to the last block. So let's take a look at it. All right. So Bread's going to be messaging me on Discord while I'm playing this game, and I am giving this commentary after the game was played. I really wanted to be in the zone for the game, so I'm typing to him in Lackey. He's texting me on Discord because apparently one of his keys are broken. He does win the die roll. He rolled a 6. I rolled a 1, and already I'm wishing I run the die roll because if you have a hand with Flight into Egypt, if you're going first and you have Flight into Egypt, like that's a really good turn 1 attack. All right, he has 1-star ability, Love One Another. He gets to look at my reserve. He cannot discard an evil card because it's turn 1 and you can't remove cards from the reserve. So he does get to see all my secrets in my reserve. And this is going to give him a good idea about what type of deck I'm playing, if he hadn't already guessed already. So he gets to see my tricks, and I am playing Peter's Curse in reserve. I can get it out of my reserve. It's just a little harder for me to do than most decks, but in a deck that where I'm able to play a lot of dominance really quickly, Peter's Curse felt like a powerful option to have. There's a lot of cards running around that negate neutrals. I really like the cross, but when you're playing in a meta game where your neutral cards are just getting negated most of the time, having access to an artifact late in the game that you can activate that can't be negated is really nice. So Peter's Curse, that's why it's getting the nod over the cross. So my star ability, I'll be able to scout his hand and get a little picture about what's going on in there. Okay. So it's not like the most crazy hand I've ever seen, but he does have the wombo combo of Simon Peter plus 4 drachma coin. This combo is so powerful that I'm playing it, and I'm not even a disciple deck, but I'm playing it. But basically, if you have Peter and you have this, it's just like 4 extra cards, and that's big. I can't can't tell you how big that is. So he has it on his first turn. So even though he doesn't have like the most insane opener I've ever seen, he can certainly draw into some really good things. He also has access to that mass banding card that we were kind of aware about. And there's that orange place card we were talking about earlier. He has drawn 3 out of his 7 dominance. He's drawn his Rhydon, Star Bethlehem, and Son of God. All right, let's take a look at the Lost Souls. He has a Distressed, which will be negating territory class characters. He has a Covet, which will be able to steal a Lost Soul from my deck. He has a Humble, which will be able to give his cards cannot be prevented. I don't do a lot of trying to prevent stuff in this deck, although it does happen sometimes. So Humble's not going to be that relevant. The card that I have in my territory is the Accusers. The reason I have this card in my deck is against the card called Herdsman of Gerar. If I'm trying to draw 6 to 10 cards when I attack my opponent, having them block with the Herdsman and drawing that many cards it's not where I want to be. So that card's like a hedge against Herdsman decks. And honestly, of all the Lost Souls that probably could go in and out of the deck, Accusers is on the fence. Because in decks like Jeremy's, it literally doesn't do anything. So, sometimes it's the best Lost Soul in your deck. Sometimes it's just kind of sitting there. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Right, the crowd's Lost Souls getting recruited to his side of the battlefield now, giving him nice little hand protection. My Nativity deck does like to attack his hand. I do play a card called 20 Shekels, which is really effective at putting down their evil characters from their hand to make them vulnerable to a card, say like Mary, who can negate and reserve evil cards and territories. So yeah. And yep, there goes that Peter plus 4 drachma coin. Let's look at my blocking options here. Herod Agrippa, solid evil character, one of the best evil characters in the game, in my opinion. Negate a card, protected from multiple heroes and dominance. So not the best against lone heroes, but can hold his own against a big banding chain of heroes, which is which are some of the most popular attacks in the game right now. But Herod Agrippa with no Herod's Temple out is kind of suspect. So something I do have access to, I can play the Resurrection on my turn, or sorry, I can play the Resurrection on his turn, get Herod's Temple out, and then block with Herod Agrippa and toss. But I like to use my Resurrection to get me ahead instead of just like try to keep up. Because in my mind I'm seeing this Resurrection and I'm seeing it turned into like 5 or 6 other different cards. And so if I just cash it in for Herod's Temple and empty Tomb Hero now, like sure that could be good. Sure that might give me a block, but is it going to win me the game? What's going to win me the game is if I can keep getting ahead on cards and I can get enough resources to get that one block I need. So I think I'm okay like forfeiting a lost soul now with the idea that I'm just going to catch up later, especially because I've equipped myself with the tools to let me catch up later like doubt. All right, speaking of the resurrection, he has Gabriel banding to Resurrection Revealer. Okay, and Resurrection Revealer will be grabbing the Resurrection from the deck, and he's going to be playing that immediately. So there comes John, there's Peter, there's, I don't know, Mary. Mary the Restored, converting to Meek to negate enhancements and characters, except empty Tomb Heroes. And if blocked from hand, you may take a good empty card from deck. So now I'm like looking at this attack. And even though I have a character who could, in theory, block against what they're doing, like if I block, he's just going to be able to take a good anti card from his deck. And I already know he has Love One Another. You know, it's just like I don't want to block with Herod Agrippa right now. Especially because he can just keep playing his banding enhancements and like ban more people in the battle and get more ahead. So I'm just fine with just letting this go by me. You know, I don't want to try and contest this turn one here. All right, so the fortress he got out with Peter is Bethlehem's stable. Gives his hand another source of protection, and each upkeep can take some good nativity cards from his reserve. And then the Church of Christ is every time you play a unique hero from hand, church hero from hand, you get to create a 6/8 clay token. So I'm guessing this is for his judgment plan. He's going to try to unleash on me. So yeah, very strong turn one. He has 9 cards in hand and 8 cards in play after his attack. I think I'm just lucky he wasn't able to attack me with Matthew that turn. Like imagine if he played the Resurrection and then banded Matthew into battle, he would have drawn 4 additional cards off of that. So pretty good opening. Not the best opening I've seen, but certainly very good. And it definitely gives me the feeling like I'm behind. So I have to feel like I have to figure out if I'm going to be able to get a good turn one. I do see I have the Heavenly Host in my hand there. Oops. Yeah, there he is. This will be a good way to try and catch up on cards. So yeah, very good draw. But the problem is he has a Distress in play negating his territory class ability, so I'm going to be using my Son of God to negate and rescue his Distressed, and then I can go ahead with my Heavenly Host plan here. Basically, what I'm trying to do on this turn is set up a Big Star Bethlehem turn where I can draw a bunch of cards. I didn't see what type of defense he's playing. All I know right now is he's playing the the Sordid Spirit. So, there's a chance he could be running Herdsman. And so trying to play a Big Star Bethlehem before I attack might not be the best idea. But we'll see, He's negating my neutral cards with his Resurrection Revealer. So my accusers, normally that would be a good hedge against accusers or against Herdsmen, but all right, playing down that Annunciation, gonna get a dominant from my deck. What dominant should I get? I know I can probably get Star Bethlehem from a different character from a different way, so I don't need to get that now. I do like Glory of the Lord. It's flexible on offense or defense. So yeah, he knows I have Glory of the Lord, but that's okay. I think I'd rather just have the option to play it there. Because watch, here's what I can do. I can go Magi, get a good nativity card from deck, so I can go get Joseph the Betrothed. I'm just like chaining together these nativity cards that can get other nativity cards, and it certainly gets out of hand quite quickly. So Joseph goes to hand. He can't join battle right now, but I am sitting on the Resurrection, so I do get to use it. Resurrection coming out. Okay, so a cool play I didn't see, but now I see in retrospect, is I could have gotten 3 woes with my enunciation, negated his stable, and then I could have used resurrection to get the resurrection revealer, which will negate his crowd's lost soul, and then resurrection can ban to his Matthew, and I can attack him with his own Matthew here. So I did miss that play, which could have gotten me ahead here even more. But I think I'm just content to ban to his John and his Matthew. And even though his hand's protected, I will be converting him to Meek, which makes it harder for my opponent to attack me with Matthew and draw cards there. So yeah, this turn could have been really insane if I'd seen that line of 3 woes in the stable and get rid of his other hand protection, because who knows how many brigades he's sitting on in his hand. But this this turn isn't bad though. So there's Joseph, can get Star Bethlehem. John will reveal to toss the next and draw 2 cards. And before blocks, I can play my Star Bethlehem. And because I've been putting these unique Nativity heroes into play, that's been triggering Heavenly Host 2 more times. So X is, I have 6, I have exactly 6. And so I get to maximize my Star Bethlehem here. And I have the flight into Egypt. So I have this big banding chain of heroes. Half of them are protected. Get to draw 6 cards. So yeah, definitely this is the start I needed to kind of keep up with what he's doing over there. That's for sure. Got a whole new grip of cards. Love to see that. There's the defense that I've been needing. And let's see if opponent is able to block this. So we do know he has that Sworded Spirit. So if anything else, we're going to see a block by that maybe. Yep, here it comes. You may place this card on a good card in territory to add a Gospel Demon from deck or reserve to battle. Okay, so here's a fun fact. So remember Flight into Egypt? It protects all good nativity cards from harm till end of turn. So, and guess what? Bethlehem Stable is a good nativity card. So the Sworded Spirit is not able to place it on stable because stable is protected. So he's going to have to find a different target for that. Herod's Temple is the probable answer. Yep, there it goes. And what is he going to search up here? So he's going to get the Thief, which can negate a good card in territory. If it's a character enhancement, you may discard a character in territory to take it. You may exchange this with a Thief or a generic demon from deck or territory. So this card does a lot. But basically, he's going to be stealing my Resurrection Revealer this turn, cashing in one of his useless hero tokens. Negating neutral cards is usually a big deal against these type of Disciples decks, because the more you can limit their access to the reserve, the less likely they can break through. Cards that, like Book of the Covenant, are really crucial to Disciples. I don't know if he's running this, but Temple Veil can be used to reset his heroes that are bounced. So just the fact that he's able to get rid of my Resurrection Revealer is pretty big for him. And the card that's currently sitting behind my head right there is Second Coming. Sorry about that. I gotta put my head somewhere. Okay, Highwayman coming in hot to block. I'm guessing he's just blocking to get the draw cards. So he's only going to be counting the brigades of heroes I control. So I control silver and white heroes. So he gets to draw 2 cards. And I don't think there's anything that Thieves have that can really deal with a protected offense. I mean, some Thieves play, I think there's like the card that gives protection to lost souls or whatever, but I don't know if he's running that. All right, a lost soul, and we have 13 cards in hand. Let's see if we can put down some stuff. Put down that storehouse, which is really crucial. Put down Herodias, which I hope is really going to mess him up. The fact that she's restricting the reserve means a lot. It means he won't have access to a lot of the shenanigans he's probably trying to pull off on me. So I'm trying to get down my hand size. Number one, because I don't want Matthew attacking and seeing a bunch of the brigades in my hand. Number two, there's a hero in the Disciple deck that says if blocked from hand, toss the next enhancement. So that's the primary reason why I'm putting down my evil characters as opposed to holding them in my hand here. I want to have as many options as possible against, I think it's Joanna. Yeah, this one. But considering I don't have any evil enhancements in my hand, maybe I shouldn't be trying to play around Joanna. I do have Executioner, so I could see like putting Executioner down, so like I don't get that tossed, the weapons from him tossed. but like maybe putting out all of these guys is not the best strategy. I did keep Deceiver in my hand. I'm like trying to make sure I just don't completely lose the game if something happens. So down to 5 cards in hand. Have a bunch of cards in territory now. Ugatha is giving me access to that cannot be prevented modifier, which is really nice. And also have a humble. So that's like another reason to get my hand size down. There's his heavenly host. He's going to be able to fire off his Star Bethlehem soon. Probably not for as much value that I get, but still dominant that can draw you 4 or 5 cards is pretty good. Although I'm not sure how good. Like, would you rather just have another battle dominant? Do you really need that much speed? I don't know. I guess in a deck where you're really trying to get impartial judgment down, it's kind of like a combo deck. That extra speed is really nice. So I could see it. I could get behind it. Laying down my Resurrection Revealer. It's generic, so you can have 2 of them. So it's going to be, the chances are this game, I'm not going to be able to use my neutral cards. I haven't drawn that many neutral cards this game. I haven't drawn my artifacts. So it's not presenting like a huge issue for me right now. Like, oh no, he's negating my accusers. Oh no. So like that hasn't really affected me that much this game, but it could matter a lot later. Crowd's choice coming down. He can't search his reserve because of Herodias. So he has to search his deck now for Saint Simon the Zealous. Let's see. This is the card that I'm afraid of the most. This is the card that keeps me up at night. It's not Matthew, believe it or not. It is Simon. I can deal with Matthew. I can play the hand protection against Matthew. What I can't do is protect my characters from Simon. I'm going to second come and get my Son of God back. There's a chance he could play Nazareth and try to lock me out of searching my discard pile, so I don't want to be caught in that scenario. But yeah, Simon the Zealous. You know him, you love him. Kind of overpowered, but it's okay. Let's see if we can get a block off. You can choose Sword to Spirit to block. If he comes in with Simon solo, I can I can play Glory of the Lord of all things to make it so it's a battle by the numbers between the Spirit and Simon. So that could be funny. But that's probably not going to work because he does have a Gabriel causing. He can go Gabriel attack, ban to Simon. Like most of the choose the blocker things say if alone. Why doesn't Simon say if alone? Like what's up with that? Because then you can just ban to him. Like there's no downside for Simon. Come on. Okay. Anyways, I'm just gonna hold it together. Simon's overpowered, but what are you gonna do? Well, either gonna complain about it or either gonna adapt and find ways to beat him. So we're we're in the adapt and try to fight. But anyways, there's that Gabriel coming in like a hot potato. Negate Herodias. Banding to Simon the Zealous. Simon the Zealous. Choosing Herodias to block. Okay. I would have thought they would have chosen Sordid Spirit to block there, but I guess they want to save that for a rainy day. So let's see, because in theory, I could have like a no straw or something here, but he's going to play his right on. And the card side that we're going to be looking at is the bottom side. It says play an enhancement on your meek hero. So Simon into Authority of Christ, which will discard all evil characters that you don't control, cannot be negated. So there's literally nothing I can do about that. Even if I'd ask for dominant initiative, try to play glory there, that's not going to matter. He's okay. So all those evil characters I decided to play out that turn are just get swept into the ocean. Okay, so maybe that's a reason not to play all of them out. So Deceiver survived the slaughter, but that's definitely not ideal, losing over half your evil characters in one swoop, especially Herodias. Like I love Herodias, having her stick around, but now she's dead, and now the opponent's threatening to choose the Sworded Spirit to block next turn. But I do have a plan for that. I do be planning. Okay, we drew some more defense. Herod Antipas is up to snuff here. He's perfect for scenarios like this where I don't really have any evil enhancements going on in my hand. He can block, and if he has initiative, he can play a really good evil enhancement from reserve. So, all right, let's remember upkeep triggers. So this is important if you're playing this deck. You got to remember your upkeep triggers. It's hard to do, but once you do it, it feels really rewarding. So like just every turn I just look at my upkeep. I scan the board for any upkeep triggers and I say storehouse, okay, I'll get coming prince, and then stable, I'll get John the what's his name? John the Forerunner. Good old Johnny, what's his name? Okay, so what I'm gonna be trying to do this turn is setting up a coming prince turn. I need to play coming prince, and then I need to attack with a character that can get the coming prince, or I can get the card that I'm top decking into my hand. So I'm going to put Star Bethlehem on my deck, and then whoever I attack with, they need to be able to get this from my deck somehow. So I can either attack with a card like Zechariah or John that draws cards, or a card like Magi or Joseph that searches for a good nativity card from my deck. So if I'm going to go with the Joseph route, it's really important that I try to get down to hand size. So now I have 6 cards in hand and he has 7, which will make my Joseph work. Nativity feels like if you have access to attack with Joseph plus Mary, that's usually what you want to do. There are exceptions to it, but it's really it's hard to go wrong with Joseph Mary just because of how much value you're getting. So right now I'm setting up a big banding chain with Joseph and Mary sitting at the top of that banding chain. So Joseph is going to trigger, what nativity card am I going to get from my deck? I don't know. It could be anything, really. Oh, it's convenient. It's on top of my deck. Star Bethlehem. Okay. And the crazy thing, Joseph not only gets a card, he can band a Mary, which is it's just Joseph Mary is one of the strongest attacks in the game, let me tell you. And here's a little fun fact about Mary. She can target evil cards in any territory. So this is a scenario I thought about, but never imagined would come up. It's one where they place an evil card in your territory. You can use your Mary to negate and reserve it. So even though opponent was probably hoping to save that Sword of Spirit like a snack for later, like you pack a school lunch and pack your Oreos in there and you really hope you can eat your Oreos later, I just took his Oreos and threw them in the reserve. So that feels good. And now I'm going to play that Star Bethlehem I just got to draw 6 more cards and give my guys protection. So I'm Nativity can really pop off when you're able to chain Star Bethlehem into Star Bethlehem for the full value. Like like it's insane. Okay, so I feel like the only block he has access to here is if he's playing Thieves, this is the Stolen Seed one. So I don't know. I don't know if any Thieves has anything else. I mean, isn't there a thief that has like regardless of protection stuff, right? So that could have been an out for him. But if he blocks with that, I can just play Glory of the Lord and restrict him from playing stuff. Or even if he has um, the seed, I could play Glory of the Lord. But if he just blocks with somebody and just like asks for initiative, like I'm gonna guess he doesn't have Stolen Seed. Okay, Judas plus Stolen Seed would have got me here because he's restricting dominance. Okay, he's searching for an artifact from his deck. Very nice. Great White Throne entering his hand. Very nice. All right, he doesn't have it, so we get the Lost Soul. The score is now 3-3. I've played my Son of God. He's played one of his Son of Gods. So basically, opponent has to rescue again to win the game, and I have to rescue again to win the game. So it's coming down to I need to pull off a crucial block here, or else I'm just going to lose. So there's 2 different storehouses you can use. You can choose the Israel's Rebellion one or the promo one. I think I like the promo one a little bit more in this deck because you have a deck that cares about how big your hand size is. And sometimes it's nice to just dump your enhancements into your reserve because you know you can just get them back next turn if you need them. So I dumped 1 enhancement in the reserve and played out 2 evil characters. Could have decided to dump more in the reserve, but I think it's fine to just run it that as it is. I could have also seen it fine to keep one of those evil characters in hand, but having access to 1 in territory is nice. So if they attack with Joanna, I don't have to do a bunch of tossing. So something I'm thinking about right now is not only am I trying to think about how do I get my best block off, but how do I get another Lost Soul into play so I can try to win next turn? Because let's say he does fail his attack. I go to my turn, attack, rescue his Lost Soul. I can't win the game because he doesn't have any other Lost Souls in his deck. And the main reason I'm generating multiple Lost Souls in opponent's territory is through the Lost Souls card, and unfortunately he's negating my neutrals, so it is unfortunate, and I don't really know what to do. I was playing Shepherds of Bethlehem in the reserve, but I reasoned that I didn't need him. I cut him. I figured my Lost Souls soul generation would have been enough, but I'm running into the edge case where it might not be, so we'll see. Here's the kind of logic. I was thinking about why cutting Shepherds is good. I feel like in the games that are really fast, opponents are drawing a lot of cards. They're going to have a lot of Lost Souls, so I won't need Shepherds. The games that are slower, it's not a race, so I'm not needing to rescue a Lost Soul every turn. So it's like if the game is slow enough to where there is a soul drought, they're probably not playing a super fast deck, and so I don't need to race. It'll be interesting to see what attack he does decide to go with here. He's been working with no hand information this entire game. He got to look at my deck once at the very beginning, but who knows what's in my hand and who knows what's in my deck at this point of the game. He knows I have Glory of the Lord. He knows I have a Son of God. He knows I have, but that's about it on as far as defense goes. Firing off that Star Bethlehem to draw 3 cards and played more star abilities. Not sure why he decided to play this one, because my deck's protected. Maybe he played that thinking my deck wasn't protected and then realized it after, but so maybe a slight misplay there. But, you know, maybe it could be a big misplay because, I was just having a hard time trying to get the Lost Soul out there. So he actually decided to help me out here. So we'll see if that comes up mattering. And then Untouchable says if you control a meek hero, draw 2 cards. Yeah, this card is really good in his deck when you pair it with Star Bethlehem. You can turn it into a card where he is drawing that 6 per turn, even if it only has like 4 Nativity heroes. Darkness coming in, triggering. We'll get to search for an evil character, see what he gets. If it's something I don't like, I do have the option to negate and rescue it. So, oh, possessing spirit? No, thank you. I don't want you having that. So we're just gonna get your darkness. No thanks. Yep. So yeah, if he was able to get that, he could have put that in my territory, maybe somehow bounced his Simon the Zealous, and then attacked and chose it as a blocker. So I know I do have doubt in my hand, but if I go doubt, try to block his Simon, I know he has an untouchable, which could bounce doubt. So I don't think I'm winning if he's able to get that card, choose it as a blocker. I could do, you know what I could do? I can play a 3 woes as good, negate his ability, that'll negate the place. So that would stop that from happening. So that would be clutch there. All right, his trump card is coming out, Satan's Seat, negating protection. So its shields are down, hand protection is down, Herod's Temple protection is down. I'm interested to see what he does here. Does he have a Zacchaeus that he's going to try and choose the blocker with? Like, I don't know. Lost Child Found is going to be able to bounce 3 different things. So he could like reset Simon, could reset Matthew here, but that's probably not going to be good unless he wants to draw some more cards. He's going to bounce the Mary. Okay. He has 9 cards left in his deck, so who knows if he still has something left. I counted up all the dominance he had. He has played all of them except for 3 woes. So if I can find out a block that plays around 3 woes, I feel like I'll be in pretty good shape here. Okay, he's bouncing those evil characters, which tells me he's probably coming in with Joanna or Mary. I'm thinking his best attack here would have been Mary by herself. But let's see. He does have Gabriel. Gabriel bans to Mary. So now my no straw becomes really, really good. So basically I gotta figure out how can I get initiative and how can I play no straw or something similar. I don't know what I would have done if he just attacked me with a single Mary there. But because he attacked me like this, it's pretty straightforward with what I have to do. Herod Antipas coming in, just grabbing some abandonment, threatening to push him out of battle. This will give him the Mary trigger to take a good NT card from deck, but really no card I care about at this point. That's going to stop what I have coming. There's the 3 woes, which will negate the Herod Antipas and forcing me to put that abandonment back, but that's okay. That's a-okay. So because I have Golgotha out, I could have even done Duplicity into Abandonment here, but just the no straw makes it so he has to top deck all heroes in battle. Cannot be negated. And looks like he's run out of dominance and he doesn't have any way to add or add heroes to battle or restart the battle. So I'm feeling pretty relieved if I'm able to play no straw here. I think my best block against a solo Mary there would have been Glory of the Lord, then Doubt. Like if I burned both dominance on that, I think that would have been pretty much guaranteed a block there too. But then I wouldn't have had Glory for my next attack. So it's really nice being able to not have to use my Glory of the Lord on the block. Okay, so he's going to Son of God, Lost Soul there, try and get down to cards in hand. And now I got to figure out if I can get through. Draw 3 cards for turn, remember my upkeep triggers. See, I can grab a First Sacrifice off of Storehouse. First Sacrifice is a card I really love in Nativity. Nativity loves being able to look at your hand and take away your answers. And this card works really well. It's kind of hard to play Nativity though. It's hard to get out of your reserve, but the innovation that I like is playing Storehouse in your Nativity deck. You get a little bit more consistent access to Coming Prince, and also you get a really strong late game card with First Sacrifice. And so luckily for me, he's negating his hand protection with Satan Seats, so I'm able to take a look here and see what kind of defense he's working with. I see a bunch of Crimson enhancements. I see 3 evil characters. I see that Thief again. And because I have Glory of the Lord, I don't really care about, what his enhancements are, because I can just play that and he can't play enhancements. I'm caring about cards that introduce unknown variables. So if I put the Thief away, all he has access to are 2 evil characters that I know can't stand up to a giant banding attack. I know he could try to draw a card with Zacchaeus if he blocks that as an evil character, but I have 3 woes to negate each draw. So it's pretty much guaranteed to win if I just play Glory here and attack with the big bandy chain, which is why I really wanted to hold on to Glory, because I know how strong it is against Thieves. I'm curious to see what would have happened here if we had to play a negate war. Looks like I had 1, 2, 3, 4 negates, and he had 3 evil enhancements in hand. I forget if one of them was CBN or not. But if I attack with enough white heroes that are all cannot be negated, I feel like I'm able to win a negate war. And that's GG. He has no blocks. So even though I added Doubt, it turns out I didn't need it. It felt like I was really close to needing it though. I could have seen a scenario where he makes a slightly different attack and I'm forced to burn Doubt there. Yeah, no blocks. Only has Zacchaeus, Repentant Thief. I mean, let's think. Yeah. Because even if he takes an enhancement from my hand, there's nothing he can do with that enhancement because of Glory. Yep. So, good game, opponent. Well played. Feel like I didn't really make any huge mistakes that game. I think there's one line I could have done a little bit better with the Matthew 3 woes plan. And also maybe playing a little bit more conservatively with evil characters in my hand. But overall, it worked out. It worked out, and I'm happy, and we got it, and feels good. Feels good. Thanks for watching, everybody. I will see you around. I'll probably make maybe 1 more video, 1.5 more videos before Nationals, which is coming up August 1st. It's July 19th right now, as of the time of the recording. And who knows how we're going to do at Nationals. I think I'm going to make a video kind of reflecting on all the steps that I've got to this point when I started all the way back in January of 2023. It's cool to feel like we're making progress and we're doing something right, So I'm really happy right now. I'll probably talk more about that in that next video I do before Nationals. If you've made it this far, thanks for watching. Thanks for being invested. Thanks for caring. I hope the videos are informational. I hope you're learning something. I hope my journey has been an encouraging one for people to follow and cheer for. Yeah, I'm just really grateful for everybody who watches the video. So if you've made it this far and you're hearing this, just know I appreciate you. And I'll see you next video. See you around. Bye.